So good afternoon. Lovely to be here in Seoul and to look at 6G and the road to 6G. Going there includes evolving, enhancing, and monetizing 5G. We heard Colin earlier say 5G is perhaps in secondary school. And that is important to continue to drive it. The more we learn in 5G how to monetize 5G, the better we'll be in 6G. And the earlier we can launch 6G. Now, having a look then, look at the left-hand side here. To me, that's a simple recipe from a network technology point of view. What you need to have deployed to have the tools available to monetize 5G to its full extent. As a matter of fact, I showed that here in Seoul 3 years ago. Still, if we rank operators around the world, how far down this list do they go? Many stop at the top. 5G standalone needs to be deployed, and thereby 5G slicing can be deployed. And if you don't have that, you can't support fully Apple Watches going forward, because they are RedCap empowered. Now, do we see this happening? Indeed we do. There are many examples, some you have here. I've chosen mainly enterprise examples. Sony professional cameras want to cut the wire. They don't want to use a satellite backhaul connection. Instead, they want to be 5G enabled, using the network APIs and slicing ability in the network. And they also want to use that for still cameras, because it has a deliverable, differentiated services, which indeed they're willing to pay for. Policemen in the USA are now starting to wear body cams. A 5G slice will connect them to the network with good quality of service. They will deliver an upstream video so that on record you know how the policeman has treated the citizen and how the citizen has treated the policeman, a public record. And it's all step-by-step being enabled through the 5G toolbox that we have on the left-hand side. But it needs to be deployed, it needs to be exercised, and business needs to be driven upon it. As that is being done, we get the momentum to go into 6G to its full extent. As we do that, we rely more and more on powerful technology. AI certainly is there. Cloud compute certainly is there. If you ask the man on the street, they will say AI is very important. And cloud compute is very important to them. But perhaps they don't reflect well enough on the fact that they use these two and will use these two even more so when they're out and about. If it's not there when you're on the street, if it's not there as you're moving around in your car, it will not be a good service. So the mobile networks, I argue, will ever more increase in its importance as we go forward, because they will carry the AI-based loads. That's driving new applications. XR is coming to the market. Already, as shown here in a photo, we have a university hospital in Singapore that uses XR holograms 5 days a week during surgery, using a digital twin. The transmission is through a 5G network. But going forward, the XR glasses will be in the hands of ordinary consumers, and they out on the streets will want to be connected and use the AI-based applications. Taking then a 10-year view, what does that impose on the network? That you can see on the left-hand side. Let's say with 40% XR penetration, device penetration in 10 years' time, you can look forward to, say, 10 to 15 times traffic uptake. Okay, maybe that's manageable, but let me add, that is uptake in the uplink, considerably tougher to deliver and needs time to prepare for, and also needs good provisions in the 6G standard. That is on the traffic side. But we also need to look on the operational side. TM4 drives how we should manage and automate the operations of networks. Level 4 is being discussed, and we see first breakthrough on level 4 implementations for part of the networks. Still, it's a long journey before a fully automated network is there on level 4. And I argue, to go up to level 5, we will have to wait to 6G. That should be the ambition level, and that should be where operators can enjoy operation of a modern network. Oops. Let's go back. There we are. So what will 6G bring? It will extend, it will evolve, and it will enable new things. It must extend on the performance that we know. I think a key thing is predictability of services from the start. All services should be differentiated, and we should know what kind of characteristics that could be delivered. Peak rate in itself, okay, but what about the 95 percentile? What can we deliver there? We also need to evolve the standards. With the new generation, we can make tough breaks and get rid of the rucksack. Uplink, downlink, decoupling, importance. Having the best characteristics available per link as we go forward. And then it should enable new services. What we will see in XR services in 5G is a great start, but it's a precursor to what we will see in the 6G era, I would dare to predict. Now, it also involves managing heaps of information. And for this, we have the slicing abilities that needs to evolve. We also have the network APIs. They are only at the very first stage so far. Network APIs in 6G should further extend and evolve, giving monetization possibilities and also allowing for data to be managed in a better way. 6G needs to be able to federate data between different entities and inside of the network and the network together with other data sources. So therefore, we're looking at some principles. Of course, this is Ericsson view, and it needs to be discussed with other groups. They are to a large extent discussed also, but of course views can vary. We'll see what eventually hits the ground in the standard. Based on the learnings of the launch of 5G, it is my view we should only have a standalone architecture. Still today, too many operators have not taken the effort to go into 5G standalone. That hampers monetization of 5G. I argue we should not have that rucksack with us as we go into 6G. We should be able to extend and evolve on the paradigms in the 5G core. Today, it is a bit of a burden to replace the old core network, and therefore it delays the step into 5G standalone. Open interfaces for sure are there. Let's discuss which ones are the good ones and how do we make sure that we have an open industry base. And then I think important on the spectrum side. IMT allocations should be technology neutral inside of IMT, and we need to have ample bandwidth allocated. With that in hand now, 3GPP is starting. We need to have, from the start, radio access technology that is based for all kinds of accesses, all the way from ambient IoT up to terrestrial end-to-end high bandwidth devices, and very different kinds of services, such as fixed wireless access, that has phenomenal success now in a number of markets, and then ambient IoT as an example for very much the opposite in terms of characteristics. So the latest technology will enhance performance. A number of techniques are there: uplink, downlink, decoupling, important I argue, enhancing the transmission with the MIMO, again catering for the fact that the uplink will ever be more important going forward. In proposals that we are looking at, we are encouraged to see many examples where performance can be significantly improved. You have one example here of the enhancement in the uplink data stream, 56%. You also have sustainability requirements, such as improved energy efficiency. And of course, these are vital things to get into the standard as we get to that level of detail. Now, AI, of course, is very important, and it will be in the system throughout from the very start. In the radio access network, it will be there at all levels. It will be there at loops which are longer term, medium term, and fast term. It will vary inside of cell, between cells, and in regions. Key thing, it's AI native from the start. But it also goes through the stack up in the network, and of course extends through the core network. And also making sure that we have fundamental parts, security, resilience managed. And then on top of that the networks can deliver a trusted communication. Trusted is, of course, in the eyes of the beholder, but provisions needs to be there in the standard so that it can be assessed as trustworthy AI. So AI native from the start. For us in Ericsson, we have 4 things that we look at. AI everywhere in the network from the start in all functions, distributed data throughout the infrastructure, and then being able to be federated and processed and exported northbound under certain rules. Then the zero-touch automation reaching from the start up to level 5, and then allowing for AI as a service. Coming back to spectrum. Now, I have the privilege to meet regulators in many countries. I also must say that I think many regulators, without pointing to anyone in particular, should take a very forward-looking view on what spectrum they make available to IMT and under what conditions. Allocations within IMT should be technology neutral. Sadly, that's not the case here in Korea. And that's not the only country. Many countries still have G-specific allocations. And that slows down refarming. And that slows down the availability of the services. Also, we need to identify new frequency bands. And my view, one band to consider is the upper 6 gigahertz. Some countries, that's already being, let's say, identified. Some countries is a no-go. The ones who will have that, I think, will have a big advantage at their hands for 5G deployment and or 6G deployment. India, China, Brazil have already taken that step. And I can only encourage other countries to do so. In WRC 23, we identified then 7 to 15. Work is ongoing there. So important in WRC 27 to make sure we single out bands with high level of commonality in the region here in Asia, but also globally. It will, however, be difficult. And therefore, to any regulator, I'd say, give your country as much freedom as possible inside of IMT allocations to use the assets you have. And that comes to the regulatory part. I think it's very interesting going into a new generation to consider around the globe what are cases where we had good regulation and where we had regulation that can be improved upon. I often say that regulation should be embracive and enabling, but there are many cases where it's not. Examples you see here, late licensing. Indonesia has still not allocated a mid-band for 5G. 5G uptake in Indonesia is slow. On a national level, you can see the impact of that regulation. You can see many cases where we have allocations in bands which are not globally accepted. You can see cases with very small allocations, or allocations where you have interference from other systems. We had that in Japan as an example, now being resolved, but a few years that was an issue. And also we can see in countries where they have from the beginning said it should be 5G standalone. 5G standalone adoption is of course faster. And that gives a national advantage to other countries. So on the right-hand side, we want clear allocations. It gives faster deployment. It gives superior service. It gives stronger innovation and faster digitalization. And I think in any country, the more forward-leaning, proactive the regulation is, the better innovation is encouraged. So, the evolution to 6G, we see a base layer where we run the business evolution now on 5G, where we run digitalization in societies, then evolve the core, enhance with the 5G advanced features, and then eventually add on the 6G capabilities. The business innovation being driven on 5G will funnel the work on 6G. You can see here, UPI was mentioned earlier, the payment instruction system in India, phenomenal success. One example how digitalization can be driven with good connectivity. XR glasses will come in the 5G area for consumers, but the learnings we do here over the initial phase will excel into 6G. And then 6G, add the new bands, add the new parts in the standard, and 6G business will excel on 5G. Thank you very much.